Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of AKI as the Executive Director, I would like to thank Dr. Aarti Kinikar, Organizing Secretary, and the entire organizing team of this conference for giving AKI an opportunity to share our experience of impact of lockdown and e-learning on children's health. AKI, Association of Adolescent and Childcare in India, registered in 2000 and active from 2008. The chairman is Padma Bhushan Dr. R.D. Lele, who may be known to many of you. He was former Dean of Grand Medical College and JJ Hospital and former Director of Jaslok Hospital. Our core group consists of doctors and surgeons from all specialties. We also have volunteers from all stakeholders of child and adolescent health, be it parents, educationists, teachers, lawyers, engineers, etc. All of us work on voluntary basis while continuing our regular professional jobs. This work is our passion and social commitment dedicated to the well-being of children and adolescents. We are mainly doing urban-based work with parents, teachers, and students in schools and colleges. And last 13 years, we worked with teachers and parents. And last year, we added grandparents. We have total 11 centers. 2 of them are regional centers, which are 10 cities, 8 city centers, 150 individual volunteers from 26 cities, and also overseas from our international forum. Our mission is holistic health in children and teens. We have different verticals: youth, parent, teacher, grandparents. Each is headed by a senior pediatrician and adolescent specialist from different parts of the country. Today's panelist is, the first session will be conducted by me, Dr. Swati Bhave. The second by Dr. Prashant Karia from Surat, who's in charge of AKI Youth Forum. The third lecture will be given by Dr. Sandeep Kaude from Pune Pimpri, who's also in charge of Parent Forum of AKI. The fourth lecture will be given by Dr. Samir Shah from Vadodara, who's our National Program Coordinator. And the concluding session by Sharmila Lele, who's Secretary and Treasurer of AKI and also Headmistress of a school in Mumbai. And she will share her experience and will conclude with a video. To understand the challenges of e-learning, AKI conducted a series of webinars with school children and their parents, medical college students, and medical college professors from all over the country. And we were very happy to have, as a panelist, Dr. Aarti Kinikar. You can see her photo here. And we are also planning more webinars for challenges of e-learning with science, commerce, engineering, and other streams. I'll be giving an overview of the impact of COVID lockdown in children and teens, sharing my experience of my many teleconsultations during this COVID lockdown, and the panelist will be covering the mental and physical changes. From my experience, I've found that the impact of children depended upon, did the parents or the children have resilience skills? Resilience is adapting to adverse circumstances and bouncing back. And those parents who had this capacity and those parents who have inculcated this capacity in children are doing quite well during the COVID phase. But those who do not are having a lot of adverse effects. If the children had some previous mental health issues like depression or low self-esteem or anger management, they have all become worse. Any previous physical health issue which required frequent monitoring and going to a hospital, like a specially challenged child or a thalassaemic child, are having a lot of difficulties during the COVID lockdown. Depends also on whether the children and teens worked in the house for household responsibilities. If they had, they slipped very easily into the new normal. But those who didn't and were used to domestic servants, they're creating a havoc by not helping the parents. A lot also depended upon the relationship within the family prior to COVID. If the parents had permissive parenting, where children are allowed to do whatever they want, it was a peaceful situation, though we all know such parenting has a lot of adverse effects on children when they grow up. But in such households, sudden restrictions and disciplining by the parents, the children and teens find it very difficult to deal with these new strict parents and vice versa. In some houses, children are spoiled and ruled over parents. In some houses, parents have given up saying children just don't listen to us. And in these houses, there's a lot of conflicts for making them accept the fixed routine, take responsibility of helping around the house and follow the COVID restrictions. If the parents are very strict and dictatorial, in the past, they went to office, children went to school, and they had respite from each other. But now they're 24/7 closeted with each other. So there's a lot of anger from parents because children are disobedient, and a lot of rebellion from children and teens because the parents are smothering them. In the houses where parents are not on the same page, there's conflicting discipline. That means mother says something, father says something else. And if they're grandparents, they're on a different track altogether. This leads to manipulation by children and teens of the adults, leading to further conflicts in between the adults. I've seen a lot of increased marital discord about mother's pet, father's pets, etc., which adversely affects children. In the pre-COVID, happy families are enjoying life. Being closeted together, they consider a boon. They value the child and they say that after such a long time, we are bonding. Others, we were in office and children were in school or in tuitions. Many of them are enjoying working together, running the household without servants. They share their videos of dancing together, cooking together, doing exercise together. But what happens to the dysfunctional families? By dysfunctional families, we mean where the family is not happy, they don't get along with each other, marital discord, or parent and children fighting, or mother-in-law, father-in-law fighting. And in the past, majority members kept away from home and kept coming home only at night, and they could cope up with the tensions. But now suddenly all are closeted together. We had what is known as an empty nest syndrome when children went away to boarding or hostel or other cities for education. Now all of them are come back, and we call this now a crowded nest syndrome. And this is more aggravated if the house is small and people don't have individual bedrooms to find personal space. So the dysfunctional families have become further dysfunctional. We all know that about 20 to 25% of adult mental health conditions manifest in teens and young adults and also can be missed. During my teleconsultation, unfortunately, I've diagnosed a number of cases of psychosis, schizophrenia, OCD, borderline personality disorders. Anxiety disorders, depression, and suicidal thoughts have shown a significant rise. Rebellion and aggression has increased, especially in kids who had ODD, that is oppositional defiant disorder, or CD, that is conduct disorder. There's violence in families, parents beating children, children hitting back at parents, older siblings or younger siblings hitting each other. I had one case where a brother hit the other boy with a knife. Addictions to tobacco and alcohol and drugs in many cases was hidden from parents because they did all this outside home. And now since it was not available, it manifested as withdrawal symptoms. And after history taking and talking with the adolescents and taking their permission to talk with their parents, a lot of parents were shocked to know that these children had these addictions. Known cases of addictions became worse. A lot of children were stealing from their parents' stock of tobacco or alcohol, or the grandmother or mother's sleeping tablets, or ordering these substances online. We all know that the adolescent brain works through the hypothalamic limbic system, and the dopamine reward pathway is highly hyperactive. And hence, under stress especially, they get very quickly addicted to dopamine release. And this is internet addiction, social media, video games, junk food, etc. And it is very sad to see that even in this COVID situation, when everybody is aware of health and mental effects, parents still do not accept to go to a psychiatrist. And it has taken me a lot of sessions to convince parents that some of the cases are having psychiatric comorbidities or are having psychiatric disorders. And only my counseling will not help. But the social stigma is so severe. But fortunately, 90 to 95% patients, I could connect with a psychiatrist. But 5% patients just would not accept, and I lost them on follow-up. I'll give an overview of challenges of e-learning, and Dr. Samir Shah will present other details. E-learning has widened the gap between the privileged and the underprivileged, dividing the students into have and have-nots. Those who had their own personal devices with good internet connectivity were more able to adopt to the online classes, especially if they had separate bedrooms where they were undisturbed. But children who had to share devices with siblings and for parents and had a poor bandwidth connection and no space personal really are finding e-learning a big struggle. Many college students, especially medical students, who have gone back to their native place are having tremendous problem with internet connectivity because of the rural area, and many of them do not have the advanced smartphones. We as pediatricians and adults and experts keep teaching the importance of digital parenting and monitoring healthy media diet. So parents were also used to limiting screen time. Now suddenly, due to online learning, all children and teens are going through excess screen time. The physical and the mental adverse effects will be dealt in detail by our panelists. So a large number of teens and children have got screen addiction. Many also fool parents that they're studying and finishing assignments, when actually they're using their screen for entertainments or video games. Parents who are non-tech savvy have a real difficulty how to do this monitoring and are really at a loss. I've spent a lot of time advising parents on this issue. Now the media is going to be the only way to remain connected in this time of social distancing. We all are taking part in virtual or hybrid conferences. So in these times, it will be all the more important to set ground rules for all of us to reduce overuse of media. So we have to strike a balance. We have to use media to be socially connected. We have to use media for our work and for e-learning. But it will be important to set ground rules for judicious use of media for all family members, not just children. So we have to discuss with them media distancing, family media plan. And though we are going to use media for social networking, I always advise everybody that try to do it non-screen. That means use phones, do audio connecting rather than video connecting. Screen should be reserved only for work and studies. And we must do a lot of indoor family activities to reduce everybody's dependence on the media. So indoor games, indoor exercises, relaxation techniques, listening to music, dancing, reading, writing, and all creative arts. So now I come to the second part of my session, that COVID situation is uncertain and is going to continue. We do not know how long. We have discussed the impact, but as doctors, we are going to be asked about the management. So let us discuss the solutions. Learning to adopt in this COVID situation is extremely important. And we have conducted a lot of webinars for parents, teachers in lay public, for parenting in the COVID situation, and also managing stress and following a healthy lifestyle in COVID situation. So I will give some tips which we give. I already discussed that building resilience is extremely important. And one very good tip which I have given to all families, and I'm happy to say that 80% of these families have successfully utilized it, and they are finding it very easy to be happy in COVID time. Structure the plan for the day as if you are going to school, college, or office. Most people think COVID lockdown is a long vacation. So people sleep late, get up late, don't have bath, have breakfast, lunch, dinner at odd times, do binge eating and binge watching. So if the whole family has a proper structured schedule, getting up early in the morning, having bath and breakfast, and getting ready, putting fresh clothes as if you're going to school or college, motivates you to work from home and e-learning, and having your meals at the right time, and keeping positivity by keeping off the constant TV corona news, which is very demoralizing, and keeping away from WhatsApp misinformation about COVID. Connecting with all relatives, not the ones which create problems for you, but the ones which give you happiness. Old friends which you have lost touch, and school and college batchmates. It's very important to stay connected. Tell your children that yes, you are also afraid of COVID, but we have to cope up. Don't worry, things will be fine. Let children express their fears and keep a corona talking time, just 15-20 minutes a day, and rest of the time talk everything but corona. Have pure time, not only for yourself, but for your children. But again, audio, limit video. We all know stress is increased and immunity is decreased by bad diet, lack of physical activity, inadequate sleep. And hence, all of us have to learn that we have to have a healthy lifestyle, and the stress relief has to be positive, not unhealthy, by tobacco, alcohol, binging on junk food, screen, etc. And if you do not follow all this, don't expect your children. I have had phone calls from adolescents who say, my father smokes and drinks every evening and says that this is for my COVID relief. I'm 18-year-old. Why can't I do the same? So everybody now has to have positive discipline, adopting to the new normal, healthy food, home cooking, structured routine, as I've discussed, physical activity and exercise of 2 hours a must. Encourage children and teens to release activities that release dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So learn relaxation exercises, pranayam, yoga, meditation, biofeedback, positive self-talk. Encourage creativity. Many are making fun videos, inspirational videos, creative apps to keep up their spirits. Encourage bonding. Do activities of social responsibility. Teach altruism to your kids and do it yourself. Helping others, doing good, releases a lot of positive neurotransmitters and makes one happy. Taking care of others will develop empathy. So care of vulnerable both at home and society. Grandparents, other senior citizens, babies and toddlers, people with disabilities, specially challenged people, and pets. We hear sad stories of abandoned pets during COVID time. Let each family member take part in running the household and helping each other. And it can be age appropriate. Even a 2-year-old kid can help by telling him, beta, let's clear your toys. Children who are younger should not be allowed to touch glass thing, but they can use steel utensils. Older children can do things like starting a washing machine, or if you have a dishwasher. Older children can also clean and mop the house. They can wash utensils. They can help cleaning the kitchen. And there should be no gender bias. I get families who say, Madam, आप जो बोल रहे हैं ना, लेकिन हमारे घर में आदमी लोग घर का काम नहीं करते हैं. And I have to give counseling to the father that at this COVID time, there is no father, mother, there is no man and woman. Everybody has to take part in household duty. And during household work is the best indoor exercise and pastime for everybody. Spirituality gives resilience to go through disasters. And those families who have spirituality are coping up better. Very often, people confuse religious rituals with spirituality. But sometimes during disaster situation, these rituals do bring in peace and calmness. For example, I was not doing daily prayers or lighting a diya, but during the COVID period, I started it. And this evening ritual certainly brings me calmness, and this faith in God helps me to cope up. Many teenagers are not able to do this. They say, I don't believe in God. If God is there, why is he allowing all this suffering? So we have to help teenagers to practice spirituality. And there are a lot of online courses also. We have to learn to introspect ourselves and teach our children to introspect what lessons have we learned from this long COVID restrictions. Will we change our mindset and our lifestyle? Have we become less materialistic and more spiritual? Have we understood the difference between need and want? All our cars are lying on the garage. We have not used them for months. As a woman, we have so many saris and jewelry and purses lying which we have not touched. Will we change our outlook? Will we focus less on social recognition and academic and financial achievement and start valuing family life and relationship? Have we become a new me? Have we become a better person? And will we embrace this new me forever? Or will we go back to whatever we were? Whenever, if at all, things come back to original. I think that is very important. At least I am going to embrace this new me. So what is the take-home message? Corona situation is a long-term haul. We must get used to restricted life pattern for a very long time. We may never get back to original 2019 and before. And we all have to learn to adopt to this new normal situation. All of us have had many hardships, economic crisis. The richest and the poor all have crisis, but the poor are really suffering. Many have lost their jobs. Our children are suffering in their career. Many of them had got admissions abroad or to other city institutions and could not go. Many of them are not able to appear for their board exams. Many of them are not able to appear for competitive exams. And they're going to feel very depressed and demoralized. And it's our duty as adults to explain to them that 1 year lost in a career is just a drop in our lifetime. And it is not the end of life. And everything will come back and they will be able to go on with their career. We all have to adopt to restricted social life. The mask, the social distancing, the frequent hand washing, restricted travel, and there has to be new rules for household functioning where every member has to work to run the household. So the next sections will be taken by Dr. Karya, Dr. Kaude, Dr. Samir Shah, and Sharmila Lele. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk on mental health effect of COVID-19 on children. Swati ma'am has covered many things. If we talk about the mental health issues of this, then there are few cases which we came across. We'll discuss that. We got a case of a 3-year-old boy who was having a complaint of recent change in behavior. He break all the things. He cries excessively. There are frequent waking up spells in night and parents brought for that, and that happened during this COVID period only. A 9-year-old boy, he was brought with a complaint of repeatedly washing the hands. He just washed hands approximately 200 times in a day. He was not allowing anyone in the family to come to his room. A 10-year-old boy was having a recent change in academic grades, was not able to cope up with the online education. A 12-year-old boy was playing online game for hours. A 12-year-old boy was actually arguing excessively and then damaging the things in the house. The 14-year-old girl has committed suicide by ingestion of some drugs. And the 15-year-old boy don't want to follow all the routines. He doesn't want to wear the mask. He doesn't want to wash the hands. And he just says that this all things are fakes. There are a few more interesting cases also. A 5-year-old girl, when brought for a vaccination to my clinic, she said that my parents are engineers. They used to work continuously out of the house, and now they're working from home. So I'm happy that they are with me. A 13-year-old boy, the son of one of my friend, he completed 15 online courses on Coursera, and then he's going further ahead in that. A 10-year girl, daughter of one of my friend, again completed around 30 drawings, and then she's selling these drawings during this period. A 14-year-old boy in Goa, he completed all the levels, difficult levels of chess. He learned the chess online, and then now he's going for a competition of this chess. A 15-year-old girl is actually learning dance from the international members. So all this type of cases are occurring. So if we think there are mental health effects on the children, then we see that there are around 2.2 billion children in the world. There are actually making around 28% of the world's population, and that is uh, a big population. To prevent infection into them, the measures taken were like wear a mask, hand wash, social distancing, and everything. This all leads to closure of schools, educational institutes, and activity areas. This new normal leads to stress, anxiety, and helplessness in many children. Why children are more prone to this type of mental health issues? One most common thing is their developmental age. All the prefrontal cortex or the amygdala and everything, or the limbic system and everything that is not properly mature, and that causes a problem. The current educational status. There are certain special needs children, like the children with ADHD, learning disability, autism, CP child. All this are actually prone to mental illnesses. There are certain pre-existing mental health conditions also. In a study, we have seen that all the psychiatric illnesses that are occurring in adults are actually started before the age of 14 years. And there are around 50% of such cases reported worldwide. So that is a problematic thing. There are certain underprivileged children who are having a disharmony in the family. That also causes a problem. And either the children or the adults, they are infected with COVID-19. In a last wave, we have seen that the adults were getting infected. In a new wave, we are seeing that the children are also getting infected. So the fear of getting infection, isolation, quarantine, and sometimes a death also causes the mental health issues in the children. The young children, they persistently ask about the COVID-19 infections. They cling to parents. They show irritability. They are becoming attention seeker. There is a fear of isolation into them. The mother is infected and child doesn't want to stay away from the mother. There is a disturbed sleep. There are nightmares. Appetite is also disturbed. Children are having temper tantrums during this period also. If we talk about the adolescents, then the adolescents are actually fond of meeting the friends. They just say, we just want to chill. They want to meet the friends and schoolmates. If they are not allowed to meet their friends, there is a change in their routine, and then sometimes they feel hopeless, helpless. Features of depression is also there. There is a anxiety related to their academics. The government has actually cancelled the exams of 10th and postponed the exam of 12th. So what will happen if my exams are more postponed? My 1 year will be failed. What will happen if I get infected during my exam? What will happen to my marks? So all this type of anxieties related to exams is actually causing a problem. As everybody is staying at home, there is more chances that everybody is disturbed, and in a small matter, there is a violence and abuse at home also. They will also be having a burst of anger, and because of that, they will be having issues. Now, as the children are using more and more mobiles, they are becoming internet addicts. For everything, they are using internet, and that can be a problematic. Some children are playing games, PUBG, Free Fire, COC, COD, Among Us. I mean, you are having so many online games, and because of that, there are online harms due to these games. They become addict to the gamings. They are having a pseudo satisfaction that yes, I'm having some power. Some children will be actually cyber bullied on the online platform. Some will be sexually bullied also. Some will be actually becoming addict of pornography, because nowadays, as they are using more and more mobiles, the pop-ups will be there. They will be curious. There will be something that leads to use of this pornography, and that can lead to unrealistic expectations, unrealistic uh, orientation of a sex, and that can lead to a bad impact on their sexual health in the future also. So this adolescent behavior is normally, they argue with us, they are having some issues, but if we find a significant change in their behavior, that is one thing, a severe, that is a chronic, occurring repeatedly, and that is not consistent with their developmental stage, and it affects their daily functioning as well as the functioning of the family, and that is a problem. All these mental health effects which we said, self-harm or a suicide, one of the leading cause of a death in adolescents, that can occur due to some stress, some anxiety, some phobia, some personality disorders, some psychiatric issues. And if we find some issues in a children, like there is a recent change in their behavior, they are not willing to talk, they just become introvert, they are having either a bulimia or anorexia nervosa, they are having a sleep disorders. All these things leads to attention of our antenna that they may be suffering from some mental illnesses. When we talked about the obsessive compulsive disorders, DSM-5 says it is anxiety disorder, and in this, the recurrent obsessions or a compulsions that are severe enough to be a time-consuming, or it causes a marked distress or a significant impairment. See, adolescent is having an obsession that I've not washed my hands. So what to do? There is anxiety. If I don't wash my hands, I will be having an infection. So they just have a compulsion to wash their hands. Once they wash their hands, there is a relief that I will not have infection. But then again, there is a obsession. So in adolescents and in children, we are having a symptoms of obsession, that repeated thoughts about a contamination, repeated doubts. If they don't see the things in order, they are having issues, and there are some aggressions in them. There is some compulsion, washing and cleaning the hands repeatedly, counting the number of cases daily, checking and rechecking, then repeating the same actions and ordering the things. This all things will be there in a children. The children with the special needs like the autism, ADHD, cerebral palsy, they do have some fixed schedule. If there is a schedule is broken, then there will be an issue with them. The developmental mental delays requires a physiotherapist or some occupational therapist, but in this period, if they don't get, then their development will also be a problem. The underprivileged children, they are having a deprivation of a nutrition, and overall protection is not there. There's no income, there is helplessness, and because of this, sometimes we are seeing that there are increasing number of criminal activities. They are more prone to depression, anxiety, and suicide also. There is no internet connection, and because of that, either they are having one connection, so only the boys are given preference. The girls will not be given a preference. The girls' school dropout in a future will be there. The gender discrimination is also a problem. If parents are quarantined or a child is quarantined, there is a fear of a death of self or a parents, that can lead to a sadness and anxiety, and that can be a one more problem. So the role of parents, actually, Swati Bhave ma'am has already said, and then we can also have some roles in that. And this one slide says that we must make them aware. We must follow a good role model for them. We communicate them with openly. We do have a consistent routine and give them opportunities to play, read, rest, and engage in physical activities. And then we focus on their good behaviors, encourage them to do good things, give them opportunity to express their thoughts, involve them. We do have a good family media policies, and we just give them the unconditional loves and tell them about this all things by a life skill education. So the role of ours will be that we show them the videos on a common myths and facts about COVID-19, and allow them to be calm down. We give them life skill educations, and during this periods, we have conducted many webinars for children on life skill educations. We taught them regarding the stress management, like the simple exercise, like a deep breathing that helps. The anger management, one of the most common thing to be taught to them will be a ABC of anger. If taught at a younger age, that can be a very useful things. The resilience, failure occurs in everybody's life, but if you don't bounce back, that is a problem. And we teach them by giving them the different exercises. There are some helplines like the Santwan helpline for board exam going students. If they are having some suicidal thoughts, some issues, then they can just talk to us. We can just provide the teleconsultation, and that can be actually a revolutionary thing which has happened during this period. We can talk to them from a remote place, and most important is a timely referral to mental health specialist. So if all these things are done, then we can take care of a mental health of a children. So thank you everyone for giving me an opportunity once again for this session. So thank you once again. Thank you.
Good day. Now we will be discussing physical effects of lockdown on adolescents. Most of the physical symptoms are related to the screen overuse. They can be divided into the ophthalmic issues, orthopedic issues, and sleep disturbances. The ophthalmic issues include eye strain, dry eye, blurry vision, and headaches and visual migraine. The orthopedic issues like neck pain, back pain, trigger thumb, trigger finger, carpal tunnel syndrome, or tennis elbows are seen. Many of these problems are due to, as we discussed, screen overuse, and also due to poor posture related problems. Sleep disturbances are very common. Due to increased screen use, there is disruption of the sleep cycle. There is decreased sleep time, sleep debt, and sleep deprivation syndrome is also seen. We also worried about the increased obesity, not only in adolescents, but in all population. Especially in adolescents, it can be due to the two causes of lack of outdoor activity, again, which is caused by increased screen time. There is hardly any exercise at home. All the outdoor sports, especially team activities, are closed, and they are not replaced by adequate amount of indoor physical activities. Also, many times bad food habits, such as eating in front of the screen, frequent snacking, stress eating, emotional eating due to depression, mindless eating due to boredom, and increased use of junk food is seen. At Aki, we were doing lots of webinars during this lockdown period. We also did an online survey of adolescent children. It is a cross-sectional study where we collected data from August to January of 21. The data collection was in the form of an online Google form. We had about 318 submissions. The analysis and reporting is at present ongoing. Few of the findings I can share with you. When we were discussing about the effect of lockdown on the eating pattern, 15% reported more eating of junk food as compared to 47% increased use of nutritious food. This was surprising for us, but the factors for this could be more supervision by the parents at home cooking, and less ordering and options of outside eating. 32% have reported disturbed timings of eatings, whereas 22% have had more scheduled and regular timings due to home, and 32% did not have any change. When we were evaluating the effect of lockdown on their weights, 40.9 reported that the weight gain was as expected, and 40.9 have reported no change in weight. A significant amount, 14%, have reported a disproportionate increase in weight. When we did this study and we were evaluating the sleep patterns, what we found is only 27% did not have any change in the sleep pattern as compared to the normal. 51.3% were having very late night sleep, and 37% had reported that they were getting up later as compared to usual. Disturbed sleep was noted in 25% of children, and decreased sleep was seen in 11%. We were also evaluating the effect of lockdown on the physical health and the complaints which were reported. And nearly 42% children have reported headache at some or the other time. 40% reported eye or visual problems. Orthopedic problems like backache, pain in fingers, body ache, neck pain were reported by nearly 25% adolescents. 16% reported nearly abnormal weight gain as an effect on their physical health. I would like to thank for this opportunity, and now we will continue with a further session. Thank you very much.
Very good evening. Being last participant of today's session, like my previous panelist, I will also follow the KISS principle in my presentation. Means keep it short and sweet. I try to convey my thoughts on the topic given to me in stipulated time. We all now Corona graduate, as we all have completed a 1 year of the course successfully by the gathering the knowledge mainly from the scientific research-based knowledge, evidence and experience-based knowledge, and most majority time social media-based knowledge through WhatsApp, Facebook, and epidemics of webinars. I am going to discuss about one of the biggest challenge due to the lockdown, that is e-learning, not only for the children, but also for whole education system, including the teachers and parents. In the end of my talk, we are going to present one beautiful video by school, the Cathedral and John Connon School, Mumbai, which has got first prize by Education World India Society ranking in Mumbai for the year 2020 and 21, which give us an idea how we can overcome from challenges in resilience way. COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown measures throughout the world, especially in India, have several ramifications on education system. According to UNESCO Institute for Statistics data, nearly 1.2 billion children in 150 countries are facing challenges in education because of lockdown. In India, 32 crore students have been affected due to the closure of schools. Education forms the foundation of any society. It is responsible for economic and social, political growth and development of the society in general. But due to the lockdown, government announced closure of all education establishments across the India on March 16, 2020, and ultimately it affects all the education system till now. There was sudden unexpected shift from the traditional classroom-based education system to online-based education system. This situation requires quick reform in education system to embrace digital technology and encouraging personal development of student fraternity. Our education system is coming up with ways to continue children's education, from switching to remote learning to using social media platforms and TV channels, and switchover challenges are being faced by everyone involved. But what we can think is online learning is biggest challenge or the only solution? Let's discuss in our upcoming slides. As Dr. Swati Bhave Madam has already discussed few issues in her introductory presentation, I will try to elaborate our ASCII experience. We gathered it, of course, by e-learning through webinars and online panel discussion with various stakeholders, including medical professionals, medical students, students of schools and various colleges, parents and teachers. ASCII conducted a very nice online survey, which still under publication, from which our previous panelists presented few data relevant to that topic. This study also saw some data regarding the excess use of the screen gadgets and internet due to e-learning. Let's see what our data says. When we discuss about the hours for the utilization of screen gadgets, we see almost 17.6% are using more than 8 hours a day. And if we consider 4 to more than 8 hours, almost 77% or more are using the internet and screen gadgets more than 4 hours a day. Isn't it significant? And purpose of the utilization of the screen gadgets are only and only more prevalent is the education, almost 89.9%, followed by the entertainment. Reason for overuse mainly, of course, again online education, almost 83.7%. When we ask the question about the satisfaction due to online education, almost 40.9% are totally not satisfied, and 28% are only satisfied when it will become less hours only. So what we miss, of course, that is the traditional classroom teaching. There are many advantages of classroom teaching that digital or online education will find hard to replace. The classroom environment is essential to promote and stimulate collaborative learning, which increase a student's self-awareness. With school, children are exposed not only to new ideas, but also interaction with peers. It enhances students' critical thinking skills. School is the first avenue of socializing for children. Inside a classroom, students experience social interaction with peers and establish rapport with teachers. This instills sociable practice such as empathy, friendship, participation, teamwork, etc., which are building blocks for positive personal development. Classroom teaching teaches students how to develop organizational skills, beginning with the basics like arriving to school on time, being prepared for the schoolwork, how to organize their timetable, prioritize the assignment, and how homework should be done in time. The physical presence of teachers keeps students stimulated through the interactive and interesting activities. Teachers can also modify their teaching style on basis of the type of the learners they are available in the classroom. They can get a clear idea whether the students are following what has been taught to them or they require further explanation. Classroom teaching includes conflict resolving skills, presentation skills, and team spirit. Such experiences are valuable in the shaping students' communication and listening skills, as well as the growing and maturing emotionally, and also develop important personality and career building skills. But at the same time, e-learning also has their own advantage. So what positive gain? An opportunity for the student to spend quality time towards the learning new soft skills through digital devices, media, and other latest technologies. These have vastly improved the knowledge and talent and will make them competent in modern day world. There are a plethora of online courses for kids available on the internet. It also helps them to study at their own pace and according to their own convenience. Online classes for kids enable them to study home and in situations or cases where they cannot go to the school and colleges. So this was the only solution during the lockdown for the education purpose. And of course, the study material available 24/7. Again, going to school involves lots of time spent in the commuting. Children spend 6 to 8 hours a day in school depending on their age. Lockdown has saved the above time and given children more leisure time. This has resulted in having more time to interact with family members at home. Through virtual platforms, many have connected with their extended family and brought them closer and all the enriched by the exchange of ideas among family members. Lockdown has given good opportunity and ample amount of the time for the young to learn moral and family values, traditions, rituals through frequent family interaction and being more hygienic in addition to attending the online classes conducted by educational institutions. But of course, it has really a big challenge in each and every class of the student or children of all ages. In school age children, if we consider it is mainly related due to the lack of the formal training for virtual or online platform, both by teachers and as well as the student, both the sides. And that lead to the such a technical glitches and that lead to the more and more difficult study due to the online. These glitches may be either related to the software or inappropriate or incompetent devices, even lack of the availability of the enough number of the devices at home, poor internet speed, leading to the interruption of the classes and forcefully abrupt stopping of the session that lead to the more and more problematic stage in the children. Again, there is an excessive increase in the screen time that already we discussed in study, and that lead to the more and more threat to the all the physical and mental issues. Again, cyber security is one of the major problems that because of the totally each and every time parents not able to watch continuously to the student, and that such a small kid may become the having a risk or victim of the cyber bullying or cyber stalking. Again, the making of the curriculum is one of the important things that we have to consider when we are discussing the topics that is related require the practical classes or attention to the lab. It is very difficult. Loss of the attention is one of the biggest problems because of the leisure atmosphere of the home, and that leads to the more and more distraction in the children's activity. They may log out at sessions midway or engage in the other digital activity such as the browsing the internet or chatting. Because of this such distractions, child may fail to learn well through remote learning. Again, unhelpful or unhappy home environment may adversely affect the motivation to learn, and being forced to stay home makes children miss all activity. Lack of social interaction can make children, especially teens, feel bored and distracted from study. Anxiety about see their future is one of the biggest problems that is not only accepted by the elderly people, but it is also felt by the children because of the scary pictures of the corona and its impact. If we consider the younger school children's challenges, it is also some typical features that is include the maintaining of the netiquette was often absent, especially if parents are also not such techno savvy and not able to monitor the children. Inability to maintain constant attention to online class has been another struggle of sorts. Keeping the audio video mute done by some children make it difficult to know if they are really paying attention or not. At the same time, because for the small children, parents also have to keep continuous training of the children for remote learning. They have to balance the work and household responsibility along with this type of the teaching schedule, and creating good environment for the children is one of the biggest challenge for them sometimes. If we discuss the challenges of the college students, they usually unable to work on assignment and effectively and don't feel motivated due to the home environment. They face totally many distractions during these online classes as they have called by their parents to help them in home. Some also have to help the family business or other occupational work in order to meet their ends during ongoing difficult time of lockdown. Students aspiring for the admission in major professional courses are very much confused and very uncertain about their future as their scheduled examination got postponed and their routine timetable got abruptly disturbed. Mental health of the student is also taking a huge toll as it is building anxiousness and creating lots of stress due to the uncertainty created by lockdown extension as well as due to the rapid spike of the corona cases. One unique problem that we face in underprivileged children, that is the due to the lockdown and closure of the school, they miss their midday meal, and that lead to the lack of missing of the really nutritious food, leading to their malnutrition and reduction of immunity in them, in turn make them more vulnerable to corona infection. Effect on specially challenged students already discussed in previous speakers, so not speaking much in detail. So in short, COVID-19 lockdown has brought many challenges in education while boosting education innovation. Hopefully, the reform that will happen in the field of the education due to this lockdown will create a more resilient and learner-friendly education system so that in future our children can say their children that they having a good experience of online classes, and sometimes it took 30 seconds to log on to my online classes. So no pandemic can stop a learner to learn and teachers to teach when both are passionate to doing it. And the great example of that thing is the Cathedral and John Cannon School, which gets the educational world Indian school special award at Mumbai as a first rank. So let's hear the headmistresses of that school what she tells.
Hello, I'm Sharmila Lele from the Cathedral and John Connon School, Mumbai. Today I'm going to share my experience with online teaching, how we started it, what were our issues, how we faced them, and where we are now. We started our online classes on 16th of March, exactly 2 days after we closed down. That was possible only because we were already ready with few of our things. We followed certain procedures and we had our resources and online resources as well as normal resources ready for teaching and learning. We depended a great deal on Google Drive. So we collaborate on Google Drive. We have all our lesson plans stored on Google Drive. All our resources are stored on Google Drive. It was a big boon to have Google Drive to our rescue. We also collaborate a lot on using various Google apps. Another thing that helped us was a school email ID that was issued to the children, and that helped us to collaborate on various things and aspects with the parents. Emotional issues, printer issues, paper issues, and lot of many other issues cropped up last April, that is April 2020. But we overcame those because we looked at changing our course of action, and we took into account a variety of newer online resources for our children. And that helped us in continuing with our online teaching and learning and also evaluations. We also had a survey conducted of the parents and the children of their emotional well-being, because we felt that there were many mental health issues that were coming up because children were not able to socialize and they were not able to meet their friends or have any outdoor activities. So then we conducted an online survey and helped all parents and children to deal with the situation. We gave them certain tips, and we had one-on-one sessions with some of the children to calm them down, and this helped us great deal. The main idea was to develop and build a rapport and make connections with our parent community as well as students. And we were successful in doing that. We brought in a lot of new resources and a lot of new ideas, online resource and advances in technology gave us the award of Teacherathon, which is an All India Tech Award. And we are very proud to say that we got the first prize in that. Overall, it has been a great learning experience, and we are still learning. It hasn't stopped. We are in the second year now. 2 months of the new academic year have passed, and we look forward to this year with a great deal of zest and with an understanding. We have a great deal of direction to follow, and we are looking forward to it. Thank you for listening. Wish you all the best. Stay safe and have a great day ahead. Thank you so much.
The Cathedral and John Connon Schools Infant Section presents The Pandemic Tech Solution, Our School's Tech Journey. This is a story of our journey so far. It started in March with the Corona War. IRPE was our teaching tool. It worked wonders for our online school. Homeschooling was intriguing and new, but Google Classroom was a fun proposition. We were delighted to work on Google Drive and HyperDocs and turn in our timely submission. My Simple Show and Google Quiz added to the fun. PowerPoints and teacher-recorded videos helped us from feeling glum. April set in before we could think, but a lot of our printers also went out of ink. Innovation came to the rescue in the form of Google Slides. It was interactive and interesting, brought many topics to life. We expressed on the Padlet wall and connected with one and all. Wow! Eduten and Formatives were added to the kitty. But May was soon upon us. Oh, what a pity. The summer break was here. We were housebound at this time, but holiday activities assured us everything would be fine. We called up our friends with our usual chitter-chatter, planned our summer collaborative project on animals and creatures that matter. June came and our work was in full swing with value-ed, gym, yoga, PE, fit kids and our favorite brain gym. Our teachers recorded their instructions on an app called Talk and Comment. It made understanding so easy to decipher and document. July followed, and Get Epic, Woox, Matific was delivered to our door. Our weekly assignments kept us clamoring for more. Back to worksheets we went. We travelled back in time to develop our fine motor skills along with our minds. We played around with Flipgrid and also demonstrated in English and Hindi many poems and acrobatics. We had fun looking at each other's videos and our playful tactics. August entered and brought with it Zoom lessons now in batches, more online instructions and mind maps to record reactions in online classes. Growth Mindset taught us what we needed to know about the power of yet, successes and failures. It showed us the right way to grow. We also practiced mindfulness and empathy, presenting ourselves with love and sympathy. Mindful senses and mindful breathing added to our mindful thinking. Our midterm break signaled the end of half a year over, but before we knew it, we landed in September. We are satisfied with our progress, although we've been at home. Our online progress reports are now ready and indicate how high we've flown. This is certainly not the end of our journey so far. With the choice of student agency and student voice, the sky's the limit. Maybe we'll even reach Mars.
Our old dictum, that is, when there is a will, there is always a way, is absolutely true for today's our corona condition also. So that's all from today's our session. On behalf of Aki team, my sincere thanks to organizing team of BJ Government Medical College and Satur Hospital for inviting us to express our views against august audience like you. My heartiest congratulations to whole team and especially organizing Secretary Dr. Aarti Kanikar Menon for organizing 47th Annual Conference of Research Society in such a vibrant way, even in this critical phase also. Thanks to all delegates to hear us till end and having happy and healthy day ahead. Thank you very much.